Hello, everybody. Thank y'all for coming tonight. It's 5:30. We're going to start this meeting and we're going to. Well, they come wheeling in. Y'all ready? Where did Robert get up there? Jennifer, are we ready? Okay. Oh no, I forgot my glasses. Oh well, my arm's long enough. Notice is hereby given pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Vernon's Annotated Civil Statute, Article 625217, that the city of Smithville will conduct a economic development workshop public meeting on Wednesday, October 18, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. at City Hall at 317 Main Street, Smithville, Texas. Oh, I thought these were your glasses.
Okay, so thank you very much for having the workshop here again tonight. Thank you to everybody who showed up tonight, and we are taping this, so it is on YouTube and it will be available on YouTube later as well. This is the last of the series that Lori Vincent has been providing for us on economic development. Lori's with Acceleration by Design. This project was funded through a cooperation between the city and the Workforce Training Center. And so we've been talking about a lot of topics related to economic development in terms of workforce, housing. We're going to talk about downtown revitalization tonight. We talked about how to market yourself and talk about your city and things like that. So we've got almost all of them are available online at our YouTube channel, and wanted to just say thank you again to Lori for a great 9 months or so of just coming back and talking with us about things. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'm sad that our contract's coming to an end. It has been a great 9 months coming into Smithville and learning about your great community, and to share with you information that I have and knowledge that I could share on various economic development topics. And we saved this one to last. It's a little bit longer than usual, but you know, it's a very important topic and I get very excited about it. So it's going to look like I'm going to talk very fast because I got you for an hour and a half and we have a lot to talk about. What we're going to do tonight is see if it was working a second ago. Yeah. Okay. So I will ask you a few questions that we will make it a little interactive, but mostly we're going to slip through here pretty fast. So, but we'll have discussion at the end as well. So, oh, we got it. Yeah. Yeah. She just had to plug it in. Now we're okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, that's a lot of technology. So first, we're going to talk about why it's important, why downtown revitalization is important. Then we're going to go into kind of the hard part. It's not easy. It's sensitive. It's hard. We're talking about your community. We're talking about people's private property. So it is a very daunting, project, but it's important that we talk about it because there's solutions to almost everything that could come up. And then finally, we're going to talk about better business strategies and how we can help our businesses that are located downtown, tips and tricks to help those businesses become better business as well. So, and then we'll save last few minutes for discussion and questions. Also, as a reminder, you have a secret page on my website, Acceleration by Design /Smithville, and we've been uploading handouts and resources and that sort of thing all throughout the year. And tonight, after this session, I will download slides from this presentation as well, and some other resources that you all might find helpful. And I'll put a list of those at the very end, but wanted to remind you of that. The page will look like this, and it'll have those kinds of resources available to you all, as well as everything else that we've uploaded during this year. And I'll keep that page live for a while until Jill says we don't need it anymore. A little bit about me. I've been doing economic development for over 30 years for 3 organizations. I worked at a local level, regional level with 69 counties, did multiple projects in those 69 counties over 17 years. I was at the county level for 7 years. Then I actually ran the state program for 3 years before I opened up my own firm. Since that time, I've had 125 clients working in multiple cities throughout the country, many of which were downtown projects. And I also am the host of the Stand Up Rural America Summit. So that's how I spend my time. I'm a Razorback and Notre Dame fan. I just thought I'd throw that out. It usually makes everybody mad. And I'm a lover of SEC, golf, dogs, and tacos. Anybody here with me on that, right? Dogs and tacos at least, surely. And a little fun fact, I'm a state champion welder and pig castrator. So do we have any people who were in FFA here? Because that's definitely a small town thing, right? If you ever wondered if I was a rural America girl, there you go. During COVID, I thought I might have to resort to one or both of those things to make a living, but yeah. Anyway, and I'm a George Strait groupie. I just thought I'd throw that. Surely there's other groupies in here. You might just not be as loud as me. Community is why we're here. And this is a definition of community, a group of people living in the same place or having the same characteristics in common. We're all part of this community because you are choosing to live here and you have things in common. That's what makes community. A feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing those common attitudes, interests, and goals. That's what we're all about. So everything we do is going to come back to our feeling of community and our need for community and community engagement. So you remember my very first meeting that I came, I asked you, how do you eat a 7-layer wedding cake? If I get asked you to eat a 7-layer wedding cake, you would probably go no, or you'd be like me and you try. But it's very daunting. If somebody asked you to do that, you would go, I can't, it's just too much. It's like cleaning out your garage. You put it off forever because it's daunting. It's just too much. Well, I want you to hold that thought till the end of this presentation. Also a reminder, because I'm a numbers girl, in the last census, it showed that 17,982 cities were in a population of 25,000 or less, which is down 43 cities from 2018. 16,000 of those almost 18,000 are under the population of 10,000. And why do I tell you this? Because it's not the 314 cities of the population over 100,000 in the country. And I know your first thought is that number's too low, but it's not when you think about it. But the 16,000 or even the 18,000, that's your competition. That is a lot. And so when you're competing for projects, for jobs, for residents, for tourism dollars, that's your competition, 16,000 other cities. And so I only tell you this to show you how important it is to pay attention and to be involved and have that community engagement, is because there's stiff competition out there for residents, for tax dollars, for jobs, for tourism dollars, for all of those things. And I just share that with you. I think it's great that we have that many. That is what is feeding and powering rural America, our size. That's who you are. Very proud of that. But there's a lot of us. And some of these may be 30, 40, 60, 90 miles from you. So just very big numbers for you to think about. Okay, when somebody like me is driving through your town, these are the things that they're going to pay attention to. The entrances and exits, signage, your downtown area, what kind of culture do you have? What retail do you have? These are, I don't want to spend a lot of time on these things. It's just a reminder to you of why not just downtown, but your entire community is making an impression every time somebody is coming through your town. More importantly, what are the things that you pay attention to as residents of Smithville? After a while, you quit noticing things, right? And so I encourage everybody to just look at your community with fresh eyes, knowing that these are the things that people notice as they're looking through their windshield, driving through your community. The second thing is when people decide where they want to live and spend their money, these are the things that in the most recent survey that they say are as important to them. Clean air and water, something we definitely take for granted, but a lot of states, that's a big issue. So definitely kind of even a marketing asset for us to say we have clean air and water. Safe neighborhoods, a vibrant business district, connectivity, diversity, arts and culture, parks and recreation. You guys have all of these things. You are in good shape, definitely on creating true livability. And I think that your focus on quality of life is important and definitely also a marketing asset for Smithville. So let's just take a quick look at how downtowns have evolved over the last 100 years, because a lot of us in Texas anyway, the cities east of us are even older than that, but a lot of cities and in the Midwest, 100 to 125 years old. Many of them all started mostly when the railroads began to come through, or they were trading posts, or there was a reason why these cities emerged in the first place. And so this just gives you an example. Not all of these pictures are from Smithville, some of them are, but it's more just descriptive to show you the evolution. Obviously, this is a bigger city, but you can see how the cars changed. This is actually during a parade. But I wanted to show this because downtowns have been the heartbeat of our communities for over 120, 100, 125 years. There's Smithville. Anybody guess what the kind of cars those are when that might be in the 50s? That's awesome. What a beautiful downtown. Here's one a little later with a different era of cars. That's kind of how we can guess when that might be. But look, you still have a vibrant downtown. And then this happened, not to Smithville, but in general. When we began to kind of lose the vibrancy of our downtowns is when strip centers began to be built out on the highways. And there's a lot of great business districts out, on the highways. People began to move out of the cities. They just began to build other business districts, and it pulled businesses away from downtown. And so a lot of this happened really in the 70s. The same time a lot of the metal facades went up on the buildings is about the same time a lot of these strip centers were also built. And it just changed the dynamic of our business districts. But here you go now. And I'm going to say, I looked at some of the comments on the Nextdoor post about the event tonight. I was just trying, reading, trying to see what everybody was saying. And there were some comments about you not having a vibrant downtown, but I disagree. I will say everybody's downtown, even the most healthy downtowns that you could visit still have issues. And so I'm not going to say that you don't have things to work on, and we all do. Every downtown does. But I'm working in 2 communities right now that don't have a downtown at all. They don't even have anything to work with. One of them lost their downtown in a tornado, and they can't agree on what they're rebuilding a downtown. They can't decide where to put it. Do we put it back where the old one was? Do we want it to be historical? Do we build our buildings to look old again? Or do we want new buildings to look new again? That's their challenge. And then I'm working in another community who never had a downtown. I mean, it's a community that was a farming community to start with. They always went to a different city for their hub, for their shopping and everything, but now they've grown. And so the city's grown mostly with residents, and they need a downtown. They do not have a gathering space. And so they are also trying to figure out, they don't have history, they don't have heritage, they don't have all these great things that you have. So for some people to say, we don't have a vibrant downtown, well, you do have. I drove down here today and there were cars all up and down downtown. So please don't take that for granted. I celebrate that. I'm impressed with it. So I know other people would be as well. But that's not to say that we're not going to talk about ways that it can be improved, because we can all improve our downtown. So I just wanted to throw that out, Mitch, and throw out some good pictures. Lots of history, a lot of heritage. Definitely things to celebrate, and I'm totally wanting to brag on you, and I have bragged to other people since I've been here the last 9 months about, have you ever been to Smithville? And you need to go. So if I'm inviting people to come and spend time and spend money in your community, then let's work together to make sure that they have things to do when they're here, right? But look at all those pictures; those were good. So these are the things that have changed post COVID. Now our businesses need more contingency plans. Our cities, our governments, our schools, everybody. I think personally, we all need contingency plans that we didn't know we needed before. There is more interest in non-urban locations, which makes it good. That puts you guys in a good position. There is more mobile and remote workforce where people can choose to live anywhere. So are you a community that people would want to live in if they could live anywhere, because their people are on the move and they're choosing where they want to live? There is new emphasis on security. So do you have a safe community? Quality of life and quality of place are definitely a focus for many. Instead of living where their job is, they can live anywhere. They're choosing to live for other reasons because they can work from anywhere. And there's a less sentimental attachment. That kind of breaks my heart a little bit. But people now are choosing to live in different places in different phases of their life. And so years when we had multiple generations living in a community, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations living in a community. It's hard now to have that kind of longevity because people will, after they retire, they go live closer to their grandkids, or people leave and then they come back, but then they leave again. And so there is less attachment and they're looking for more adventure, but they are also more engaged in where they live. They're choosing where they live, and so they're choosing to be more engaged where they live. And we also need new marketing approaches for all these multiple generations that live here. All of the different ways that we can communicate them, we have to begin to absorb some of that in business. So now what? We've been chasing that ever elusive dream. We're not going to talk about these 40 factors. I load them onto the website, but we are going to look at, I'm going to quickly kind of just show these to you. This is a checklist that I encourage everybody to take this list, and I've got it on a one pager that you can print out that I'll upload, where you can go through, grade yourself as a community, as a downtown. These are all pertaining to really the downtown area. Do your own assessment and take a look and say, do we have clear boundaries? How are our lights, seating, trash, parking? You're going to get there's going to be a lot of different views on that, but collectively, maybe whether it's in service form or whatever, collectively, I think then some things would rise to the top that would become a priority to you all as a community, where you could say, these are the few things that rose to the top that we could work on, or these are things we're really doing great. So why aren't we talking more about that and absorb it into our marketing? But this list of 40 things, which I will also add the source to this too, if you want to read more about these 40 things. I'm thinking, Jill asked me, I'm pretty sure they came from the Main Street Association, but I don't want to get that confused with the Texas Downtown Association. But these are things that are all important to a vibrant downtown. Do you have, business events, youth events? I mean, I know that you all have multiple events. So it could be, you could go through and go, yes, 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 doing these things. No, need more work. Maybe you do something a B or C, and you have that discussion. And this gives you at least a starting place to see if some things rise to the top that, like I said, things that you could work on, or things that you could celebrate that definitely could be shared outside of Smithville to bring more people in, bring dollars in as well. So, and then number 40 is just me saying, quit talking and start doing. Just because I'm an action girl, and we can talk for a little bit, and then let's start doing. So we're not going to talk about this again. And we can't stick our head in the sand over problems that we know may exist. Main Street myth, aesthetics don't matter, but they do matter. We do judge books by their covers, and we all judge a community by their appearance. What happens in most communities, across the board, across the country. I mean, this is all very general. It's not about Smithville. But when we drive the same way to work every day or to take our kids to school, or we have a certain way that we go through town to go to the doctor's office, go to the grocery store, after a while, statistics will show that you don't see things anymore. You either look away, and we have a lot. I'm going to show you some look away buildings, buildings that are substandard or not aesthetically pleasing. So they don't bother you. They don't change your life in any way, but you look away from them. You look away, you know they're there, and you go and you see them all the time. So they don't even register anymore until somebody else, maybe family members come in or friends come in and they're with you and they point things out and you begin to see things in a different way. And you go, oh, I didn't know that building's been empty for 2 years. When did they leave? When did that close? That's the kind of thing that happens that over time can begin to just be a little drain on your community. It just, lowers the quality just a little bit over time as you begin to just look away. And we all do it. We're all guilty of it. We have 2 homes, and one of our homes is in north of Amarillo, 90 miles north of Amarillo in a small town. And I took the picture out of it here, but we have a building that it bugs me. It's on the highway. I have to drive by, and everybody that drives through Stratford, Texas, who knows that that's where we live, will call me and go, we're driving through Stratford. I know in my mind they're driving by that building, and I don't want them to have the perception of our community based on that building. We've tried to buy it. I've had 20 friends that have tried to buy it. We just can't get it to tear it down or to do something different with it. But I could tell you that most of the people in Stratford, it doesn't even register with them anymore because they've looked away from that building for so long. And so aesthetics do matter. Now I'm going to totally flip that around in a little bit and tell you why there's other things that matter even more. I was telling Jill, I show this picture as an example. My husband and I at the end of the year, and instead of giving turkeys or gifts to all of my, I have 25 clients a year, we decided to use that money to give gifts to various projects, various client communities, or even random projects instead. And then we let our clients know what we made donations to in their name and in their honor. And this was a project. It's the only time I've ever been turned down. A gift has ever been turned down. We tried to give this is in one of my client communities, tried to give them $1,000 to just repair this sign. It's for sale. The building's for sale, but it's a look away. It's a look away building, a look away sign. And we said, I love history and I love old buildings. And we said, let's at least just paint it and put some lights on it, bring a little life back to it. And maybe it will help it sell, but it would definitely improve the looks of Main Street because there's really great buildings around it and it's an eyesore. And they turned me down. They have no interest in fixing that sign. And I think it's crazy because look, the downtown put the really great flag in front of it just to bring attention to it, I guess. But this, I wanted it to look something like this, like back in the glory days. So that was an example of a look away, and they had no interest in fixing it. They just said they can buy it the way it is. And it wasn't even going to cost them anything. And I said, well, can we just arrange it for you? And like you just drive by one day and it's done. I was trying to help out the other businesses and they said no. So look at this picture and let's talk about just for about 20 seconds. This is a vacant lot between 2 buildings on a main street. What are some things? I want you to start opening your mind a little bit to repurposing, what it means to repurpose a property. What are some things that you think could be done with that particular space? Food court, food truck park, what else? Open air park, open air market. Okay, so this is in one of my client communities. It's been like this for 6 years. We've talked and talked and talked about what could be done with it. And you all just named almost, 7 or 8, 10 things that could be done with that space right there. That's why I say nothing that was mentioned is complicated, right? But it does take a little effort and a little money, and these things don't happen overnight. But they're waiting for somebody else to do it, and they won't sell it. Somebody else could do it and invest their own money in it. And so, we can't get the stars to line up to get anything done. And I've said, I take my own weed eater and I get rid of the weeds when I'm there, and then they grow right. I drove right back up and there they were again. But it could be all of those things. Could be a food truck park, could be a farmer's market. It could be green space. They could put a fence and a stage in the back, and it could be used for concerts and plays and presentations. It could be a veterans park. There's just any number of things that it could be. And so I want you to begin to look at space in a new light. Instead of what it used to be, start thinking about what it could be. Now we're going to click through these real quick, and I'm just going to ask you, what's the first thing you notice about this picture? It's a great mural. They just, about a year ago, they redid the mural. This is a historical mural, over 100 years old. It's fabulous. But is that the first thing you notice about it? No, I know. And so when you go other places, you notice this kind of stuff, but you usually don't notice these kinds of things in your own community. And so that's interesting that some people go, oh, I noticed the mural, but a lot of people went, oh, there's stuff sticking out of the second floor, the windows are broken, or there's crap in the parking lot. So just an example of how we all don't look at things the same way. And I think it's a great mural. I'm hopeful at some point they will clean off that parking lot and put some windows in, and then the mural truly can be the piece of art that it is. Sadly, it's not so much, and then this is what happened a lot during the 70s when metal facades were put over the buildings. It's when our historical buildings began to wear out a little bit, and instead of repairing the building, it was easier to put up the facades. But we're going to look at a lot of buildings. They took this metal facade and look at the beautiful building that was behind it. Of course, they put new windows in, but I can assure you that behind, I know you don't have very many metal here. I've looked, you don't have very much, but I would love to see what's behind it, because it's usually pretty magical behind it, and historical and very cool. A lot of neat characteristics that are probably unique to what business used to be there, and definitely could be restored. This is a reminder that I'm actually sitting in my car at a light on a major intersection, and I took this picture through my windshield. So this is the back of, I go one more block and take a left, I'm on their main street. I'm pulling into downtown. Alleys matter, and the backs of buildings matter as well. So we work so hard to make sure that the front of our buildings look so great, but the backs of the building in many cases do as well. Sometimes they don't if they butt up against another building, or maybe they're in a residential area where there's a fence and then an alley, and but in this case, and in many cases, especially now that we have more and more businesses going in on your side, alleys matter. And what it looks like in the alley definitely matters. And then there's a lot of great things you can do in the alley as well. Now, I was laughing, Jill and I were kind of laughing about this. This is actually a bank, the side of a bank that actually faces a corner. And they had some damage during a storm that came through several years ago. And every time I'm in town, I tell the bank president, he's on the EDC board, I see him quite often, when are you ever going to fix that fence? And he's like, I don't park over there. Nobody parks over there. This is, park right next to it, but it's on Main Street. And so it's out of sight, out of mind. I even tried to pull that down one time. I kind of short, and then I couldn't pull it, and I'm not going to work any harder than that. But I do bug him about it all the time. He said, "You're the only one that notices that." And I said, "No, I'm not the only one that notices it. I'm the only one that said anything to you about it. But I can't possibly be the only one that has noticed that it's been like that for 5 or 6 years." So that's just another one of those things that sometimes we forget about and we look away, and it's somebody else's problem when anybody with that's tall could probably go fix that. And I will stay on him until he fixes it, but it doesn't bother him because he never sees it. He never drives on that side of the bank. So just things that other people might see. This building also, just an example, this is also at the front of, as you turn into downtown. What do you see when you look at this building? It does have a very cool light out front. That building has an amazing amount of potential, right? It has an amazing amount of potential. So I think it's also ironic that years ago he replaced some windows on the second floor, but didn't take the time or effort or spend the resources to replace the ones that are most visible on the front. That building would sell in a minute if he would just, if the owner of that building would make just that one investment, he would get it back. But instead, it's this, and this is the entrance to the downtown. But I'm like you, I look at it and I see potential, and we will definitely get that building at some point turned over. But this just happens to be one of the hard owners to work with. But I see potential. There's potential in every building. It's actually, a lot of people would look at it and want to tear it down and do something different. No way, no way. I'll admit some buildings have to be torn down, but I'm a proponent of keeping them if you can. And this one could be so much. So I'll be excited someday to show you an after picture for that one. This on the left is the second story. So oftentimes too, we pay a lot of attention to the first floor, thinking that nobody's ever going to look up on the second floor. But we do. And I think this is an ironic picture because it has a really cool historical sign at the top. But I know what windows cost, and they're an investment, but they also make such a difference. So 2 new windows right there, a little paint, maybe even pull that metal awning off. And if this building happens to be for sale, it would sell. But anyway, just a reminder to look up sometimes, see what those second floors look like. Very easy fixes. And this Shauna Russell Way, this is, I call it the alley to nowhere. And I feel bad for Shauna Russell's family that the community named this alleyway after her, but then didn't do anything with the alley. No, that it's not landscaped. It's not on the way to anywhere. It's on the way to the alley. So anyway, enough said about that. You can create jobs without a vibrant downtown, but you can't sustain a healthy community without one. And I say that because people crave a place to gather. And downtowns have always been that place for us. It's been that place for commerce. Let me see how I'm doing on time. I know I'm talking fast. These are some of the most common downtown challenges. Now, these are not your challenges. These are just challenges in general. Dilapidated buildings, overpriced buildings, absentee building owners, buildings used for storage, disrepair is daunting, so it doesn't get done, lack of community support, funding, resources, sentimental, historical, people hang on to things because they're sentimental about it or it's historical, and then missed opportunities. And so I see some of you kind of nodding your heads on some. This list is not for Smithville. This is in general, but it definitely shows you that a lot of these issues are universal, right? Every single downtown that I work in has 8 of 10 of these things. And you could have probably at some point or another, maybe all of these may apply. But they are the most common downtown challenges. So if you ever wanted to say, what are we going to work on? all you have to do is take any one of those one at a time and say, okay, let's develop a plan for this one thing. But to begin to look at it from a point of action. Instead, I just listed all these things that could be a challenge for your downtown. There are challenges for other downtowns. What are you going to do about it? Right? If I asked you to make a list, would your list be similar to this? Would you add anything else to this list? These are just the most common ones. We have plenty. Any thoughts on any of these sticking out to you as a priority? Or there's just a little bit of all of it? Yeah. Not for sale. Yeah, that's true. There are solutions to every one of these things. So there's nothing on this list that couldn't be resolved. But it's not Jill's job. It's not the city's job. It's not it's finding solutions to specific individual issues, which most of these things, when it comes to buildings, you're talking about people's personal property. And, we have to be very sensitive to that. And, but there are soft approaches and there are positive approaches. I mean, we are all friends and family now. So if at any time any of these things really become an issue, then let's talk and brainstorm about different action items, different action steps you could take to begin to resolve some of these things. But like I said, this list wasn't made for Smithville, but I have to share it. We have to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, what are some, I'm sorry? Yes, I know, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So the community support, I think we absolutely have community support.
Right.
You look at the crowd here, you look at people coming in for these meetings that we've been having. We have
You don't.
a lot of, oh,
We have to set aside money for it. That's community support. We don't have that. We don't have ordinances in place.
Okay.
Disagree.
Okay.
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 in my perspective, I don't know if from your perspective from other communities, but it feels like we do have a lot of people who are helpful and willing to help.
And engaged. So maybe that's a better word. Because we do have a lot of people that care, right? So these are the most common downtown opportunities. Opportunities to have great signage, to have a plan that's specific to downtown. You have the opportunity to have cooperative marketing projects, and I've got a case study for one to show you in a little bit. Community improvement projects, entrepreneur education, business to business support, sharing, referrals, incentives, ways that businesses that are all located down here can begin to help each other and build your customer bases together. The establishment of a revolving loan fund specific to downtown. And then you already have facade grant programs. So these are opportunities that you are already doing some of those things. And if you're not, as I said, I will continue to post different resources and different ideas and different case studies that would involve both of these things, both the challenges and the opportunities. This is what I did want to spend a little bit of time sharing with you this. The downtown daily life cycle, a lot of people don't think about this, but especially because your business, if you're a business owner or building owner, the downtown life cycle starts before people go to work and doesn't end until the evening. So you really have 3 shifts, 3 cycles of people, of tourists, of visitors, citizens roaming through the downtown area. You've got that, I'm sorry, the early shift that generally is going to go to gyms, coffee shops, donuts, bakeries, organize exercise, daycares, the people that are going to be coming through really like 6 to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. That is an early cycle that you can capture with the business. Then you got the daytime crowd, a lot of the service businesses, the professional services, the banks, the retail, cafes, other restaurants that maybe aren't the early morning coffee shops, the government, the city, that's your daytime crowd. That could be a completely different crowd than the early crowd that may be picking up stuff from the bakery, picking up coffee, dropping off kids, going to exercise, completely different market. And then you have the evening crowd that may come down late afternoon, maybe to do late afternoon shopping, or they're going to the gym, they're going to restaurants, bars, pubs, listening to music. Maybe your community events are in the evening, or open houses, that sort of thing. So you really aren't talking about the opportunity to capture somebody once a day. You're probably only going to capture a person once a day, but you're talking about 3 different markets. Most businesses serve 1 or maybe 2 cycles, but very seldom does a business serve all 3 unless you're like a 24-hour gym or something like that. And so be thinking about, where is your audience? Who is your target audience? Are they coming early? Are they daytime? Or are they evening? Because you need to set your hours accordingly, your days accordingly, your marketing accordingly. There's a lot of things that you could do to be more specific to your target that's going to come in one of these 3 cycles. Does that make sense? Okay, that means 3 different sets of cars downtown too. Also people coming and going. So I will say, a lot of people, if they usually probably won't have lunch and dinner, but maybe 2 different restaurants. Maybe if they're a business and they're taking clients to lunch and then they go with the spouse to dinner. I mean, I could see that, but generally you have the chance to capture everybody once. But is your marketing, and are you open in a way that would capture one of those 3 cycles? So you need a minimum of at least 3 businesses open during each of those time cycles in order to get people downtown. So it could be 3 of those things on all of those lists. But that's kind of a formula. If you have 3 of those things, then you've given people a reason to come downtown. That's what we want to do, right? We want to give them a reason to come down, a reason to spend time down here, a reason to shop, a reason to be here. And then the community, you will begin to build consistency through that. And then if you add events to that as well, you give somebody 3 events a year, which you're already doing a lot more events than that. But when you look at a place like Fredericksburg or some of the cities down, I was just down on the coast, and they really used their 3 cycle formula, but only now they're up to, I mean, for Fredericksburg, they do 20. They make sure 20 of their businesses are open for every cycle of the day. 20 in the morning, and then they may have 60 during the day and at least 20 at night. But they started with 3. And then after a while, they got more businesses. So they said, okay, we want to make sure we have 4, 4, and 4. And then maybe 4, 6, and 4. But they begin to grow the reasons for people to come downtown, making sure, if you are the lonely coffee shop and that's the only reason downtown, then it becomes harder. Commerce is contagious. And so we do want to give people more reasons to actually get in their car or walk to downtown. So that's the 3, 3, 3. Start with 3. That's the minimum, and then continue to grow it from there. So this is a little hard truth that I just kind of want to share with you. The condition of your historic buildings is really the only marketing that matters, and not in a good way. You know, I'm super positive, but I can't help but do a little tough love on this one. Your glossy marketing and your outgoing marketing and your social media, all of those things can be fabulous. But if you're not taking care of your historical buildings and somebody sees that, that's going to be the perception that's in their mind. And so just feel very strongly about that. So what I want to do now is, okay, let me see where we're at. Okay, 6:15. I want to talk to you about the importance of getting a mindset of repurposing. Repurposing buildings or sites, restoring and then revitalizing. I am very big on the use of renditions. I think I mentioned that in the first time. I use a lot of visioning exercises with people and to show them what can be. And all year long, we have talked in all of our sessions about the different topics. We've talked about this is the state of the industry and this is what can be, so that I could begin to open your mind and you could start having an imagination about different ways that your whole community could be enhanced by economic development. So all of these are renditions, but all turned into actual projects. But we were able to sell a community on a project by showing them this building used to be a mercantile, but we wanted to show them it could be a restaurant. The bottom one used to be a garage and a mechanic shop, but we wanted to show them that it could be a restaurant and a bar with outdoor seating, and it's actually a sports bar. And then we wanted to show an old building, an old historical dilapidated building. What could happen if we took it back to its historical roots, with obviously new construction that looked old, but they were so nervous about us doing anything with the historical building that had been empty for 50 years. It was falling down. And we showed them, look, we are going to take it back to its glory days, but we had to show them. And so I think having that kind of vision and using these kind of tools is also very important. Also, using aerial mapping. And I'm going to give Jill the programs and Robert, the programs that, are available to do these things. But to be able to look at your downtown area from the sky and begin to code your buildings, and are they available? Are they not available? Are they substandard? Are they active? What areas could be green space? What's already green space? Potential parking? Where do the alleys look like? All of that can be done and are much easier to get a grasp on it when you look at it from above. Don't you agree? If that whole map was filled out with a color code, then you would be able to see, okay, well, we have really a cluster of activity over here. So, maybe we focus on parking for over here or lighting for over here. Maybe this area has several buildings that are empty or considered substandard. Okay, well, then we focus a different effort on that particular area. Different things that you can use when you begin to identify really the condition, the overall condition of your downtown. It's not picking on any one person or any one building. It's giving you a picture and a vision of where you're at and where you need to direct resources, time and resources. Now, I used this example the very first time I came in, and this is just a reminder that these things don't happen overnight. Remember, I asked y'all, many of you were here, right? I recognize a lot of you. Do you remember this? And I asked you, what do you notice about that picture? It was like one or two things that come to mind when you look at it. No trees. Oh yeah, overhead utility. Oh yeah, they're so obvious, aren't they? Okay, so with visionary planning, and we all have this block, right? We said, what if we make just a few changes? Or what if the owners of these buildings, what if we show them what can happen with just a little bit of investment in their building? And we added some windows, a little facade improvements, the canopies, but we still have the old sidewalk. We still have the overhead utilities, right? But wouldn't you agree that that's an improvement? This generic, maybe it's not bad. So it's not a look away building, but it's not going to draw your eyes and you're going to look at it for, everything is 6 seconds. I'm not going to look at that building for 6 seconds. This one, I might look at it and go, oh, I wonder what's going on over there. Cause that looks like a nicer building. And there's cars. So there's something going on. And then years later, it could be this. Now, this probably would take about, I would say, a decade to get there. These things don't happen overnight. but they also don't happen by themselves. This kind of planning you have to start somewhere, right? And it's not up to the city or Jill or the chamber or anybody to do that by themselves. This kind of transformation, it takes vision and it takes time and resources, but it absolutely can be done. And if you're sitting there right now thinking of your favorite vacation spots or some places that you like to go where you love the downtown and you walk around, think about the things you love about that and just bring back one little idea. One little idea, you bring back one, you bring back one. And then next thing you know, you can begin to build a vision. You already have such great bones. You have really, really great bones and a lot of great meat on it. And so it's the little things and the tweaking and perhaps working with some of the building owners, but you're not this, at least in your whole downtown. So this is a community that doesn't have a downtown. They built their downtown. It can be done. This is also I just wanted to share with you the importance of having that vision. This is the building on the bottom. This is a rendition that we said, look, this is what this building could look like with some creativity and color, really using your imagination. Well, to show you that renditions don't always turn out the way we want. I use them a lot just so they'll just get a different idea of it. It actually is this, which, when you agree, didn't turn out like the rendition, but way better than it was. So it was improvement. It went from being a look away building to a very nice asset in their downtown. They just didn't like the colors I picked. That's all right. This building is an old Texaco building, definitely on the corner of downtown. This is a sample of repurposing. Obviously, it wasn't going to be a gas station again, and they pulled the tanks, but it was a very important part of the history of this downtown. The family still lived there, and so they honored the history of the building, but they turned it into a storage unit, storage parking for vintage cars. The really, really nice old vintage cars. And I saw Corvettes in there and stuff. So they turned it into a place where 20 cars could be parked. Instead of being parked in your own garage, you have a place to park your toys. It's not generating any revenue for anybody except the owner of the building, but they did a fabulous job of preserving the history and honoring the history, but the building is not going to waste. Well, a lot of this is working with the owners of the building to, well, I worked with them and it's different. It's different in every community. Oftentimes it's the downtown association. Sometimes it's the EDC, sometimes it's the chamber, sometimes it's the city. It kind of depends on what their barriers are and what their needs are, where the solution lies. I get hired a lot to go in and talk to building owners because some building owners don't want to talk to somebody local. They have history or no trust. And so I will go in and talk to all of them and just find out, where are you at? Love your building. Let's talk about the history of it and just have a conversation that a lot of times they're not able to have with somebody local. But a lot of these, as I said, a lot of this is private property. I think the city and the community can do a lot with the public space in downtowns and the green space, sidewalks, infrastructure, wouldn't you say, that sort of thing. But when it comes down to somebody's private property, you have to take a different approach. But there are soft solutions to everything. These are some very interesting signs, I thought. Adding color, that center block painted pretty good in blue. And people were like, we don't want a blue building. But once they put the sign up, it worked. The granary sign, that worked as well. So good signage is really important for you to identify yourself. I just told somebody recently that they needed to come to Smithville, and they're a big fan of Hope Floats. And I go, well, I can't believe you haven't been there by now. And I want to make sure when I tell them where to eat and where to go and which galleries to stop at and which stores to stop at, that I'm not going to be with them when they come. So if I tell them these are the 7 or 8 things that you need to do when you drive from Austin to Smithville to spend the day, that they're able to find the things that I tell them that they should do. So you all have good signage, but you can be creative with it. I think these are good examples of using concrete, murals, metal signs, something. Just do something. Bad signs are almost as bad as no signs. And so identifying yourself in a good way is really important. I think this building on the bottom, every town has one of those, almost just exactly like it, built that way, long and narrow. This is actually the Laurel Mercantile store that you all might recognize from the hometown, HGTV hometown show. This is the one that's owned by Ben and Aaron and Josh and Mallory and that whole crew. But they took that building and said, we can do this. It's amazing what paint can do. And they preserved the whole inside of that building, all the inside masonry, all the wood. It's 2 stories, but it's open. The whole 2 stories is open except for they have a staircase and a little office on the 2nd story of the back. It's fabulous. If you haven't seen it, you can go online and even see the inside of it. But definitely a great example of that is a look away building. And a lot of these buildings seem to locate near the railroads. There were kind of those warehouse type things that located near not always in our downtown, a lot of times out on the edge of town. And then we look away from them, but they can be that, they can be that great. And this one, I wanted to show you an example of these 4 stores all together, all a completely different market. It's a men's store and then a barber shop, a boutique, and a kids' toy store. So the 4 of them began to market together. They got together and started saying, okay, on Monday, let's do this, something Monday, 20% off. And then on Tuesday, Grandma's Day, 25% off for all grandmas. And then they every week they would do, the 4 of them would agree on things that would incentivize people to come down. And then once they got them down there, they might not go to all 4 stores, but they might go to 2 of those 4 stores, depending on what their needs are that day. Well, that marketing, and they started marketing to the towns around them, and they set up a social media site, and so people started paying attention to what sales this particular cluster of businesses were going to have, and activities and fun, and bring your kids and do this and that. So then this 2 stores on the other end, which is an antique store on this end down here and a restaurant on the other end, they joined in. So then those 6 businesses started marketing together, saying that you only have to park once and you have access to all of these things. And they shared the cost. I mean, social media is free, but they shared the cost in some direct mails and prizes and that sort of thing. So then the 2 businesses across the street were like, hey, we want a piece of this. What can we do? So it went from 4 to 6. Now the 2 businesses across the street are doing it. They have 8. And it's a larger downtown. It's a city that's a little larger than this. So they have several more blocks of downtown. But this block now has figured out a way to bring people to that block, park one time, and they visit probably at least 3 stores every time. So start thinking about who's next to you or who's across the street. If you have the same target, then pull your money and start doing things together. And that way you can start doing, promoting or advertising in the towns around here or in Austin, or and then definitely start doing the free social media. But like I said, you're trying to get people to giving them a reason to come down for 3 reasons. This is a good way to do that. And your downtown is compact. It's not super spread out. So you could do it with all of downtown, but definitely things to think about. A couple more things. This is a really unique way of signage. This particular community, it's in a little town outside of Atlanta, Georgia. They said, we don't want boring signs. And so they adopted these signs. They kind of look Dr. Seuss, they're kind of curvy. They're all copper, brown or copper. So they don't have any black signs or silver signs. All of their street signs, their direction signs, everything is in this same kind of design, and it's really works for this particular community. Some a little creative. Don't hesitate to put little signs out to get people where they need to go. And then this particular sample is a Main Street, a whole row of buildings that face the other side of this picture on the left. That is Main Street. This is actually the alley that you're looking at. So instead of everybody having long buildings and only facing one direction, they halved those buildings down the middle. And so instead of having 6 facing that way, they actually have 12. They finished out, they landscaped the alley, closed it off, and created a whole business district on that one block. So definitely, see, got to start thinking outside of the box a little bit. Also, this is, I think I just wanted to show you this little bit of streetscaping and a great use of signage. This is in Sulphur Springs. And then you already have lights up. I tell everybody, you got to put lights up. Y'all already have lights up. That's great. Those street lights are great. Also, I have to include this because everybody's looking for an Instagram photo, right? That selfie that everybody's going to stop at. Isn't that hilarious? That's the back of a building, but it's also on a main thoroughfare. And so they actually had to create a special place for parking because people were pulling over to take pictures of people underneath this sign. But I thought that was very clever. And if you look on hashtag the village idiot, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of pictures of people underneath this sign. So finding that really fun, unique thing that people would begin to that was just really funny. And then a lot of and then the pianos that are out on the sidewalks now that people will stop and play. Great use of donated pianos. And then of course we have the wings. That's a great pumpkin. Here's some ideas for downtown events. These are 2 that I've been to in my client communities while I was there that brought hundreds of people downtown. Cards and cones for a fundraiser for the library, and then a huge tailgate party and parade. And then you guys have great murals. These are some of my favorite. This one is in Frankfort, Kentucky. The one on the right is an amazing piece of art. But all of these, I think good murals are a real asset to your community. Now I have a couple of pictures I just want to show you to give you an idea. If you are a building owner and your building's for sale, you're not going to do anything with it and the building is for sale. First of all, we got to help you get it cleaned out. And that as one of the challenges you remember on the page is one of the biggest challenges is when people use their building for storage. And it could be that it was an active business for decades. It's not a business anymore. They really don't. Maybe they're elderly. They don't have the ability to clean it out. Or they have no desire to clean it out because they already own the building and it's cheaper to just pay the taxes on it than to pay for a storage unit, right? Or to even have to clean it out. So once we've identified that that is a barrier and that the building could be for sale, then we can figure out ways to solve that. In many cases, what I've had the best luck with when that is the case, when I've actually met a building owner and that was, it's too daunting. It's that 7-layer cake. I can't even deal with it. And I've said, okay, if storage is your issue, can you afford a storage unit? Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. If they can't, okay, we got to figure it out. I got to find somebody else to pay for a storage unit for X amount of time, long enough that I can work out with their family a way to get a storage unit paid for. Sometimes sometimes they can, they just don't even know how to get the stuff out or get it cleared out. And that's when I go to the football team or the Eagle Scouts or the FFA kids or 4-H, somebody who needs community service projects. And I get insurance for the day. I just get special liability insurance for the day. I never let children or people who just really aren't, sturdy, strong, and able to go into a building that is substandard, where the floor is shaky, where the foundation is not firm. But a lot of these buildings really are fine. They're just old, and they're dusty, and they're full of crap. And I've said, okay, if I can get your stuff moved out into a storage unit, then will you let us clean it out and put it for sale? And almost every time they can't, they're like, yes. This is a good way. Now, once you get a building cleaned out, then you can start having open houses, and people can maybe begin to have an imagination about what could be done in that building. But what I have found with a lot of buildings is that the owners are just leaving the building the way it is, and in the way it might have been for 20 or 30 years, which is not appealing. It's not aesthetically appealing. And so I've said, okay, if I work with you if you could make a little bit of investment in your building, and we could begin to get revenue in while it's for sale, you have a much greater chance of it selling and at a better price. And when they've taken the chance and said, okay, nobody's ever even come with a solution before, they just have a ridiculous price on the building and nothing's happening, and it's there for 20 years. These are some examples of buildings where we turned them into co-working space or rented them for offices. But as you can see, when I show you, I'm going to go through these really quickly. We left the concrete floors or the wood floors, painted the brick on the inside. Really, the investment is in bringing electricity up to code and having a bathroom, having some sort of minimal bathroom, because we have to provide that. But it's not a restaurant. It's not a boutique. It's not a retail store. It is a way to do minimal work, clean it up, do minimal work where people can begin to go inside and go, I had no idea this was such a cool building. And and most of the fixtures can be minimal, but yet you can charge people. A lot of remote people want co-working space. They don't want to work from home. They pay for it like they do a gym membership. I have co-working memberships in 3 or 4 different places, or I will go places and pay $25 or $30 a day to work all day long. So this is not uncommon, and it's just a way. I'm not saying you need to do this. I'm just saying these are ideas of how you can begin to perhaps move some of the properties that may or may not be for sale, but we can make them more marketable. Concrete floors, cleaned them up, throw a little paint, borrowed the furniture from the furniture store and promote the furniture store. But every single one of them, 2 of them have decided to just keep being a co-working space. They're not for sale anymore because now they're a revenue generating space. But now they're back to being an asset for the community, and they're a taxpayer. They're back on the tax rolls at a higher rate. And then some of them, like this, turned around pretty quickly into something else. But a lot of people don't want to do the daunting part, which is the clean out and the debris, removing of debris. So just wanted you to start thinking, kind of get your mind around repurposing some of these sites into something different. And this is a sample when you say, I can't imagine second story living fitting in one of those long, narrow buildings, but this is an example. And we have a lot of these around. So this is one of those long, narrow buildings, how a 1-bedroom apartment could fit. And then, of course, you guys have a lot of events, but definitely different ways to bring people downtown. A lot of the farm to table events are really great, but this one on the right hand side, that's in New Braunfels. They designed the whole dinner around downtown businesses, and so 7 or 8 different businesses provide appetizers, a different business the entree, a different business the dessert, a different businesses the wine, different businesses the beer, the furniture stores, and the boutiques. And everything is done by the downtown stores. And it's a fundraiser for something, but it's definitely a way to get people downtown, but also to promote what is downtown and what your community has to offer. So And then this is an old warehouse. This is in Tulsa. They turned an old warehouse into 20 different restaurants and retail pop-ups. And it's food court on the inside. And then on the outside, they have a patio for live music. And this was a little house that could have been torn down. It sat there for 25 years because everybody was waiting for it to be another warehouse. But it was never going to be another warehouse. It didn't work anymore because residents that had grown in around it and trucks couldn't be on that highway anymore. So they did a great job. This is a wonderful job where the numbers worked. So they went in and bought it. And by having 20 different people lease on the inside, that became a revenue generator that made the actual numbers work. So the project phases would include, if you were looking at different, I don't want to say a formal action plan, but if you were doing even individual buildings or blocks or any kind of downtown revitalization project, you would start with the cleanup and the demolition first, and then the infrastructure, and then the aesthetics and marketing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about why that order is so important. A couple more samples. They wanted to tear down these buildings. Would you say those buildings are too far gone? No, everybody's shaking their head. You guys are tough. I love that. So you're looking at those bottom buildings going, that can be salvaged. That's the rendition on the top. That was the building, the front of the building, which didn't actually look that bad, right? It's not till you drive around and look at the back. It's a miracle no one was hurt in that building. Is that kids didn't fall through the floor or whatever, but that's what it looks like now. Yeah, it's amazing. That was an amazing project. But I did kind of just want to show you the extreme of sometimes you think something can't be salvaged and actually it can, and restored back to it. Now this building, would you tear that down? It's horrible, isn't it? So it's in the middle. This is in Owatton, Kentucky. I don't care if I tell you that. But it's in the middle. They have a downtown square, and it's in the middle of their square. And this building's looked like this for 10 or 15 years. And the city got it back finally for back taxes or something. And they gave it to the downtown revitalization group. And so they're actually redoing it now, getting it all ready to then sell. And but this building has looked like this for so long that they have to design every event that they do downtown where no pictures will be taken with this in the background. Now, wouldn't you think that it would take that they would have done something about this a little bit sooner? Instead, they were literally changing everything about what they do to veer away from this building. And I kept saying, why all that effort you're doing for years to do that? Why don't we just do something with the building? But so this is the rendition for the building, which is shocking, I know, but that building is so bad, and so many in the community were pretty ambivalent about it. They were so used to it, they didn't even pay attention to it anymore. They're like, yeah, that ugly building. They joked about it. And so I shocked them with this rendition. I knew that I had to like shake them out of what they thought that building looked like, which is horrible. But it's a great building. It's a great building on the inside. So the building has now sold. We got it all cleaned out. And I don't have a picture of it yet because I haven't been there, but they actually are doing it in a dark gray with the wood and the brass. I mean, it's going to be a fabulous showpiece now for the middle of their downtown. And really all it took was a lot of volunteers to help with the cleaning out. And then we had to raise money to do the foundation work and the electric and the plumbing, which then would be absorbed. So all done. That's going to be a great building. All right, so I'm going to slide through a couple more of these because I know that before and afters, but that's a facade that had to be restored back to its old. This is in, anybody recognize this? In Bernie. This is in Bernie, Texas. But it does look like New Orleans a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, so this is part of their downtown master plan, was a way to restore the history and the heritage and the look that they wanted for their downtown. And then all of those stores followed suit. They made that one more pedestrian friendly. And then here's some samples of some good alleyways. So I'll post all of these things for you just for ideas. You have spaces between buildings, and why it's important for your downtown to light up at night, which yours does. So that's good. But there's nothing worse than a dark Main Street when people are driving through. I love it at Christmas when people put Christmas trees in their windows that are lit up. And so even when your business is closed at Christmas, and your building may be lit up, but putting trees with lights in the windows adds so much as well. So this is the game plan. You want to do your assessment and find the funding. There is various funding available. These things don't happen overnight, but it depends on the level, really the level of funding that's needed. But you can't do that without the assessment. Analyze all that surrounding space, like I showed you, and then figure out ways to be creative in your marketing. And these are the categories that would go into an action plan. I'm not talking about a big strategic plan. Talking about could be one thing, could be three things, could be multiple things. And no one group would do plan. The chamber may do some, Jill may do some, town business group may do some, the nonprofits in town may do some. Once you kind of have an idea of some things from that list of 40 things that you could work on, then you could begin to identify some of these action steps. But you've got business development, demolition and cleanup, restoration, renovation, beautification and landscaping. A lot of people like to do that. And then the community development. So those are just action plan. Important factors, make sure that each action item has a beginning and an end. There's nothing worse than the project that never ends. So I never propose a project that doesn't have a beginning and an end. I would never ask people to be on a committee or a task force or just a volunteer for a project without saying, would you be a part of this initiative? We're going to be done in 90 days, but we're going to do this over the next 3 months. And you lay it out where they can say yes or no. No, that didn't work for my schedule. Okay, we'll catch you on the next one. But more people would say yes because they go, okay, you promise we're going to be done in 90 days. Yes, we are going to be done in 90 days. And you plan accordingly. And you involve as many people as possible. But that is the way, having a beginning and an end to every initiative is how you get the most community engagement involved. Use renderings when you can. Make sure you have estimated cost. Document everything, and oh my gosh, celebrate everything. This is a sample 12-month action plan that Lebanon, Kentucky is doing right now. Now they're doing a whole full-blown downtown revitalization plan. And when they said, I said, well, how many action items do you want? And they go, I think we maybe can do 5. I go, okay, well, let's do 20. And they go, we said we are going to do 5. And I said, I know, but we're going to list 20. Because if we list 20, you're going to do 10, which is going to be twice as much as what you thought you could do in the first place. And they did all 20 in about 10 months. We celebrated for 2 months, and then they started the next year, a whole nother list of 20. Because there's so many simple little wins on here, one-time things that you're doing, things that you guys are already doing. This is just a sample. And one thing that I have online is a list of 100 things. So when you go, I don't know if I can't think of that many things. Well, I'm going to give you 100. Surely you can pick 5 out of 100. So anyway, just kind of wanted to share that with you as well. And then we're going to close with some questions. Why can't we just paint the front of the building for now? Does anybody have an idea of why I'm usually, unless it's for severe camouflage purposes, why I'm not a proponent for just painting the front of the building first? Because what do you think happens if that's step number 1 instead of step number 3? I promise you paint the front of that building, nothing else is going to happen after that. it is out of sight, out of mind. It's not a look away anymore. And you've moved on to the next thing. And so the building never really gets done because you have camouflaged it with a little paint. So I encourage you you're going to be very tempted to do that. And I sometimes will say, oh my gosh, it's so bad. We got to throw some paint on that while we're working on it, but only in a very organized and coordinated way. Because if it's just part of the community plan to paint all of the buildings that need paint, you will end up with a better aesthetically pleasing community, but with no more commerce or sales tax or customers or any of those things that you really need to be sustainable. You just become more aesthetically pleasing for a second. That's all. So that's why we don't just paint the front of the buildings. Why can't we use grants to renovate the building? So that's a good question. You can use facade grants or some local things, but there are for-profit businesses. Profit, or if you're an arm of a government agency, there might be out there grant funds out there, matching funds or something that we could utilize and find, for libraries and nonprofits and community centers and for historical building. We probably could grab some historical funds for you, but there's going to be a lot of strings that are attached to that, which is often worth it and sometimes not, depending on what your vision of that building might be. So, but if you are just wanting to buy a building and put in a for-profit store, grants just aren't available for profit. They're not going to give money that you can ultimately put in your own pocket. But depending on what the needs are, it's always just good to brainstorm there for any kind of project that you might have. Another frequently asked question: what if it seems like a ROI is never going to be possible with this building? Well, I think with creative and resources, lots of hard manual labor. I look at a lot of these buildings, and if you're wanting to hire a contractor to do things turnkey, it's going to be more expensive and may or may not work for your return on investment. That's when you figure out a way to do a lot of that work with yourself or with teams and volunteers and friends and that sort of thing. Most people don't even go into the business if they can't. I mean, if you have figured out the ROI may never be possible with this building, then that's probably a red flag to start with. Maybe what you're doing is not going to generate enough revenue to cover that return on investment, which as a business person, I would tell you, let's think about either a different business, or maybe before you purchase that building, there should be more negotiate. You got to figure out the numbers. What breaks my heart is when people come into money and they don't have to go to a bank for any kind of loans or lending. So they don't have to go through the business plan process. And then they invest their money in a dream. They buy a building and then that's their dream. Those are the hardest businesses to keep open because they never had to go through that business plan process. And that's where the return on investment numbers show. So if you're thinking about doing a business, go to the Small Business Development Center. Whoever covers this particular area, they will for free walk you through the whole process and give you an idea, because a lot of people go in going, I had no idea my taxes were going to be this much, and that employment taxes were going to be much. My electric bill was going to be this much. I don't have any money for marketing. I can't make these improvements. And it's all because it was done without all of that preliminary thought and research going into it. So if a building seems like the ROI can never work on it, well, then let's figure out a project that can go in that building that can make it work. Why don't we just tear it down? Why would we want to tear down a really great historical building? Now, if it was a building built in 1950, 1960, 1970, and it's just a piece of crap building, I don't feel very bad about that, because it might be better used as green space or parking or something else. But a building that faces Main Street or is on one of the immediate side streets, that is one of what you consider a historical building, I would sure look at it really, really hard before I would consider tearing it down. What if we don't want that business in that building? So I think we'll probably not do the last part of it, but so let me just share with you a quick story of what if we don't want that business in that building. So first of all, this happens all the time. I'm not talking about Smithville. I'm going to give you an example from another community. But there was a gentleman that owned a building that was an old pharmacy building and had been in his family. Dad was a pharmacist. That building had been closed for 33 years. At the time, it's 25 years, but the building's still there. So I'm going to say 33 years. It had been closed since 1990. But it was the old pharmacy building. Everyone called it the old pharmacy building. You all know we all have those buildings, right? So he needed to sell it. He did need to sell it, the building. It was for sale, and it was not in horrible shape, and it was in the middle of downtown. Well, we found a buyer for him, a couple that wanted to put in a health, kind of a health and wellness store, health foods, supplements, bar, that sort of thing. Very popular now. And they wanted to buy, they thought it would be cool if a pharmacy building to health. They were so excited about it. But the community I don't want to say the community as a whole, people wanted a pharmacy, wanted a CVS, or a pharmacy. In their minds, they wanted a pharmacy, and that was the pharmacy, and no one else could go into that building because then it wouldn't be available for the pharmacy that they were going to get. Although they were going to get a pharmacy because their population was too small, and everybody had said, "You're never getting a pharmacy. You're minutes from Walmart, Walgreens, towns. People are getting stuff by mail." And that group, through social media and other ways, intimidated this poor guy to death to not sell his building to the entrepreneurs that just wanted to put in a business that was going to be what they wanted. But they didn't know in all my life, but he was so intimidated by, and he then that couple said, we're out. So that okay. Oh, we're done anyway. Yeah, okay. So when I say, what if we don't want that business in that building? That building belonged to him to sell the way he was too frail, and he didn't understand social media. He couldn't understand why everybody was so mad at him. He just wanted to sell the building, and they were not putting in anything that would be illegal. It was, but it never happened because the entrepreneurs pulled out. They took their business to a whole nother town, completely left town because of what people were saying about what they were going to be selling. It was all rumors. And the whole point of this is just, we should be excited for new business, and we should be supportive of new business. The city is not going to let illegal things happen downtown. And you do have ordinances, and you do have, protections in place that would keep something derogatory from going in. But if you don't own that building, you really don't have the ability to tell somebody else what they can do with it. And sadly, that building is still sitting empty. And I even asked those people, because they came to every meeting. They were raising all kinds of, we need a pharmacy. We don't need that. But not one of them, I said, has anybody approached any pharmacies about coming here? Well, that's not our job. But they killed a project. And so I just want to leave you with that thought that our buildings are our business. and you don't want somebody telling you what you can and can't do with your building. And we're very attached to it. Now, you may not like what I'm doing with my building, and I may not like what you're doing with your building, but we live in a free society, where in an open market, and the market will take care of that. They will either support the business or they won't. We should let the market take care of it, all while we are maintaining ordinances and design plans and all those things that can take care a lot of those issues. So nobody won in that scenario. Nobody won. The man didn't sell his building. The people left town. They didn't get a new business, and the building is still sitting there empty now, that much older than it was before. And now a lot of people are terrified of putting in a new business downtown because they don't want to be faced with that same wrath. So that's just a cautionary tale, not happening in Smithville, but think about that when you say we don't want that. Think about why you don't want it, and is it really something that you could or would have control over or should influence. So this is one of my favorite murals. Fate brought us here. This is actually in Fate, Texas. So that's very clever. So we're out of time. I do have a whole nother section because we didn't get to the business piece of it. If you want me to stop because of the time, or we can slide through real quick. What do y'all think? Okay, if we can keep going. Okay. I wanted to share with you some things that I think would be important for your business to know. One, people can't or won't shop with you if you don't keep consistent hours. So I would never, ever presume to tell any of you when to be open. I just wouldn't. That's your business. You can be open when you want. But you cannot build up a customer base if you don't say when you're going to be open and then stick to it. And because I can't send people to shop with you, and you can't put signs out or do your marketing saying, come see us, come spend time downtown, and then they get here and you're not open. So like I said, I'm not going to tell you when to be open, but I do urge you to begin to say when you're open and then be open. Figure out what your peak hours are and all of that. Because I walked up and down the street the other day, and I did take note that a lot of the businesses did not have any kind of hours that I could tell somebody, well, this gallery's only open in the afternoon, or only open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever. So think about that. And I've even been here when Jill and I have said, okay, well, I wonder what's open there where we can go eat on a Monday night. You know, you have to kind of think about that. So, yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's okay, but that is one of the biggest challenges in downtowns is just the lack of consistency. And people love old and historic as long as it's clean, safe, and the product and the service is good. So they do love these old buildings and these old downtowns. They love to take pictures. They love to come down here. They love to hear all the stories. So keep that in mind. They just want them to be safe and clean. That's all. And a century of downtowns thrived without people being able to park right at the front door. So don't let parking go to the top of your list. You want people downtown. Unless you're just opening the first 2 weeks of your business and you park in the front so it looks like somebody's in your business. After that, park in the back so that your customers can park in front of your business. I've heard a couple of people say we have parking issues downtown. I don't think you have parking issues downtown. I mean, what a wonderful problem to have. If you have so many people coming downtown that parking becomes a problem, yay, then we'll address it then. And then, even then, you can go off of the side streets, develop some of these vacant lots, turn them into parking, make it more pedestrian friendly. But it didn't hurt us to walk a few steps. And if you have a great place to shop or eat, people don't mind parking in the block over and walking down if it's a beautiful walk, which you're all lit up, you got flowers, you got all that. Why would you do all that and then worry about parking? So I can't wait for you to have a parking problem. Then if that's your number one problem, we got it made, right? Then there's strength in numbers. So competition is good. So welcome as many businesses who will open down here because that will bring more people down for you. You don't have to embrace every technology that comes along, but you have to move beyond cash only, simply because tourists and people stopping to visit, a lot of them don't even carry cash anymore. So you may still deal in cash, and that's great, but I would have that backup plan of being able to accept debit credit cards if you can't. Super easy these days anyway. And sustainability begins when people, businesses, and building owners begin to invest in each other through support and promotion. And I will say this next month in my summary, and I'll say it again tonight. You cannot expect people from outside to invest in you if you're not willing to invest in yourself. So you have to do that. You have to don't be waiting for that white knight to come in and save you. So let's talk I'm going to take 10 minutes and then we're done. It takes 6 seconds to make an impression in life. So when you look at all of this advertising, you would look 6 seconds and decide, or in 6 seconds, within 6 seconds, and decide, I want a Red Bull or not. I'm interested in something that's for sale or not. I want barbecue or not. 6 seconds is generally what it takes for people to have an impression. So it takes 6 seconds to make an impression on Tinder. That is what they say. When you look at a picture and you read somebody's description, you decide in 6 seconds whether to swipe left or swipe right. I've been married for 33 years, so I don't do Tinder, but I've heard all about it. So in marketing refers to activities a business, company, or organization undertakes to promote the buying or selling of a product or service. That's all it is. Nothing complicated about marketing. This is what we're selling: products, experiences, jobs, real estate, services, initiatives. This is all under the umbrella of what would be taking place downtown. Could be you want to attract people, you want to engage them, you want to delight them with your products and your awesome customer service, and then it starts over again. How has marketing changed since the pandemic? The needs, the perception, and the attention have drastically changed since the pandemic. So take a look at this. In January of 2020, so remember the pandemic, everything stopped in March of 2020. This was everybody's priorities when they were buying things: price, choice, quality, convenience, delivery, and returns. That was the order of what was important to them when they were shopping in January of 2020. In January of 2022, look what went to the top. The whole list completely flipped around. Now they want convenience. They want fast delivery or shipping. They want a return or cancellation policy because they're going to order off of Amazon, return half of it, or if they're going to order from a store and have it delivered, they want to be able to return it. Quality, choice, and price went down to the bottom. It completely turned around. And that's post-pandemic. So you need to be thinking about what you offer by way of product and service, and also consider those things in your marketing and in what you're doing. Service before the pandemic: reputation, price, convenience, and customer service. So that's for a service business. Now they want 24-hour accessibility. Even if even my CPA told me people call them at 10 o'clock at night now because they're like, hey, I was working on my taxes and I had a question. When did it become okay to call your CPA at 10 o'clock at night? But they said, I go, oh, surely you just have one. They go, oh, no. Everybody thinks now that they can call me anytime they want. It's like the clock went out the window during COVID. Sundays, Saturdays, it's crazy. But they want 24-hour accessibility. They want to shop whenever they want. They want to eat whenever they want. Now they do everything with digital communications. Reputation and price and value went from the top down to the bottom of the list. So that's crazy. We're talking about a whole different time. So these are marketing trends for 2023. We'll start with number 10. We'll start with number 9. I don't know what happened to number 10. Okay, sorry, we're going to start with number 9. The world is your competition. Now, with everything being online, your competition isn't just your neighbor or Bastrop or Austin or whatever. Now it's everybody. So the world is your competition. You have to embrace digital marketing, whether you like it or not. Now, this whole list, and I have it uploaded, but even if you just pick 2 things on here, you have to start taking steps towards being more digital than probably you were before the pandemic. So maybe it's through email marketing to your existing customers. It could be instant messaging, specials or sales, buying pay-per-click on advertising, social media, which is free. So be thinking about a way that so that your business just doesn't look so old-fashioned. I'm big on traditional marketing, but you have to begin to sprinkle in a little bit of digital to catch this new market. Marketing trend number 7, listen to what your customers are saying. I love this cartoon. Dad, you're not listening to what I said. I want to be a doctor. And he says, you will dance naked in front of that car dealership. That's the end of the discussion. So but we have to listen to what our customers are saying. If they're saying, I wish you were open at 5. And one thing that I talked about with one of my other clients at lunch today is if you are only open from 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 every day of the week, you're missing a whole customer base of teachers, of people who maybe drive out of town for shift work, people that work at the bank or regular hours. So even if like 2 days a week, I know that those businesses and those 4 that I was telling you about, they stay open till 7 on 2 nights a week. And it's just to be able to catch the people that work during the day, they would like to shop with you too. But if you're closed on the weekend and you close at 4 or 5, you're missing a whole market. So listen to what your customers are saying, what they'd like in product and in time. Share your values. That's a big new thing now. Customers want to know, do you share my values? Are you, are you a supporter of agriculture? Are you, supporter of wildlife? If you are, if that's very important to you, not political, but just your values, if you're big on kids, you're big on veterans, share that with your customers, because then you may share that value with them and they may shop with you because they go, you're a kindred soul. If you support veterans, I support veterans. I'm going to support you. And then together we can support our veterans. So share your values. That's important. I know that wasn't as obvious before the pandemic, but it is now. There's a very fine line between analytics and privacy. Now, you probably know everywhere you go, GPS is following you and they're targeting you. And if you have an Alexa, you can barely be talking to somebody. And next thing you know, Facebook's filled with all those things you were just talking about. It's quite frightening, but you also have access to those analytics to help you fine tune your customer base. So I think there's a fine line between privacy and analytics, but there is information out there that can help you to define your customer base and target your marketing to them. I can help you with that. And it's not an invasion of privacy. It's already information that's out there. Number 4, video is the new king. People like to see little clips of video. So if you can get testimonies from your customers, maybe you take a little video in your store of some new product that you have in, or you just say, hey, come and see us. That's what people want to see. They're not reading text anymore. You can take video with your phone and pop it up just like that. But they want to hear you. They want to hear somebody, see somebody, and they want it to be over with really quick. So say your message really quick. But video will make you look so cool. So you got to do that to get the kids. You need over-the-top customer service, because now we all have to work so much harder at it. Basic customer service doesn't help it's not enough anymore. They need to know your name. They need to know, if you have a regular customer that comes in, know what, say, last time you were here, I know you were looking at this and we have this in that's similar. Just begin to know your customers and give them that over-the-top customer service. That's what they're not getting at Walmart. That's what they're not getting at Walmart, y'all. They're not getting over-the-top customer service, and they're not probably getting at Walgreens and CVS. So anything that you can build that feels personal will give them another reason to stay here and not go somewhere else to shop. So make it personal, just like Cheers. Feelings matter. This is the number one thing. I don't know if y'all remember this advertisement. This is the number one advertisement last Christmas. The whole advertisement was about a daughter buying this vintage car for her dad, which was a car that he and his wife, her mother, had when they were young. And she found it, had it restored, give it to her dad. You don't even know what the commercial is for until the very end of the commercial when the logo popped up. There was no words, it was all music, but it gave you a feeling of nostalgia and you went, and then it just shows you that now in advertising and in marketing, providing a solution for somebody in a very soft way, using feelings is what matters to them. Obviously, a lot more than price. Price has moved down. That's crazy to me. Now they want other stuff and they want convenience. They want customer service. They want other things. So tell your story to the outside world because it's free. Marketing tips, fish with specific bait. Know who your customers are, know who your potential tourist customers are, and begin to fish with specific bait. All of those fish don't eat the same things and they don't live in the same place. So once you know who your customers are and you fish with specific bait, then you will be so much more successful. So let's close. Mean what you say. There's tattletales everywhere, right? There's cameras everywhere. Everything's free game. There's a difference between a cause, activism, values, principles. Know the difference and make wise decisions. Describe how you can solve someone's problem because that's what we're all looking for. If you market to me something that I think I don't even know that I need it, but if you're really good, then maybe I do need it after all. I am a prime consumer. So describe how you can solve someone's problem. Marketing rule, use 60% of your marketing funds to retain and sustain your clients, your existing clients. Use 40% of your funds on new business development because you are going to lose 10% through attrition no matter what. That's not just a new statistics, that's decades of statistics. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just take care of your existing customers because you're going to lose 10% of those. You need to be doing new business development, but don't ignore your existing customers, only doing. Nothing makes me more mad than for somebody I've been a customer of for years and years and years, like, let's say AT&T, and they give somebody a new who's never been a customer of them before, you get a free phone, but you, the customer that's been here forever and ever and ever, your prices are going up next year because your introductory picture, ran out, or, that's the kind of thing. There's room for both. Spend your money on both. Don't let anyone hijack your message. That's those social media accounts, those belong to you. Don't let anybody hijack them. You can hide them, you can block them, you can answer them, but don't let somebody hijack your message. It happens a lot. You're not obligated to answer everybody, every stranger that you don't know. I will say if somebody has a real issue or they had a real issue in your store or you think it's valid or you're concerned about it, address it with them directly. Don't ignore that, but just contact them directly and say, I saw where you said this. What's the issue? Let's get it worked out. Usually you can get it worked out and they can delete that or you can hide it. Those accounts belong to you. I think some people think, oh no, I can't do anything about that. Of course you can. You can. So don't let anybody hijack your message. If you're not marketing, you're invisible. Great traditional marketing still exists. Don't you still like to get cool stuff in the mail? I don't know. Some people might not. I do, because I get so many emails that when somebody actually sends me something in the mail, I pay attention to it and make a plan, embrace it, and own it. And your people will swipe right. So doing nothing is not an option. Resources and assistance are available. Citizen engagement is imperative. You have to articulate the end game. That's going to be the secret to your success, is when you start an initiative, figure out what the end game is, how long it's going to take, and then I promise you people will get on board because you have articulated the plan, the action, and the end game. They want to know what they're working towards. No one group can do it alone. They just can't. No, our towns are too small for everybody to take it on and do it all themselves. We have to do it all together. Communities can grow with purpose. I mean, it's possible. You just, figure out that vision for your community. Sustainable growth doesn't happen overnight. I showed you that one example, but even the smallest of projects doesn't happen overnight. It just happens with commitment. And honor your history, but build for the future. Just because a building used to be a pharmacy doesn't mean it has to be a pharmacy again. We all used to have big car dealerships. That's not going to happen again. So figure out what to do with that. It's not going to be a car dealership again. It could be something else fabulous. Look at what we did with garages and other buildings. So honor your history, but build for the future. Now, these are some things that are going to be uploaded on the Smithville page, and it's Acceleration by Design /Smithville. And Jill has the address. But I will upload all of these plus some other things tonight, so you can look at them tonight or tomorrow. I have a new website going up and they were working on it today, or I would have already uploaded them, as well as all the presentations from the last 9 months. Anybody recognize these two famous downtowns? Anybody? I wish I had some prizes. That's a good guess, but no. Y'all are quiet. Yeah, Gunsmoke is up on the top right. There is one more downtown that I don't have a picture of, and that's Andy Griffin's downtown. But the one on the bottom, anybody recognize that? It's Lonesome Dove, my favorite movie. That's awesome. That's the original downtown, right? We do this for a reason. So this is how you eat a 7-layer cake, you guys. You break it up into small bites. Everybody gets a little cake and does their part. That's how you eat a 7-layer cake. So thank you. I'm so sorry that I went over, but this was my last time. So thank you for hanging with me. Anybody have any questions? We've hung out 20 minutes too long.
I have a question for you, Lori.
Yes.
So I went to a presentation at the Texas Municipal League Conference this last week, and a guy came up and gave the presentation about Taylor, Texas. And they hired a planner to help them because Samsung was coming in and so forth. So in your mapping, what they did, they mapped their downtown and picked out those pieces of properties that were all high return on investment. So, I mean, I got my map out for Smithville because I carry it around everywhere I go, and I'm only kidding, but even they recommend do that first because you got to figure out what your high tax value is. That something that you can help us with, and or is there a program that can help us? I know that they brought a guy in that came in and then he started buying up some of the properties in downtown Taylor to revitalize those properties.
It's definitely something that you can do yourself, but I will share with y'all some different programs that you can go to that would help you
Perfect.
identify those.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all about that map. That's the best way to start, is go through the list and grade yourselves, and then also do those aerial maps. You can just do them on Google, and begin to block off and identify. I always go in and kind of make that clean map where I can color code everything, but I'm actually getting that from just an aerial map from Google to start with.
Lori, I know you're in high demand.
Hmm.
And for me, I've been to most of the meetings, but this was the most beneficial to me. And I'm glad to see we had the amount of turnout we had. I'd seen, I guess, about a half dozen of the downtown business owners here tonight. I wish we'd had more, but I think we can reach out to them. Based on, thank y'all for
Yay.
coming.
It's the backbone of our downtown.
Yeah. So you're going to do a summary for us next month.
I am. Short summary.
There's things that you can give us in a overall planning toolkit, or maybe do you piecemeal some of that?
I will share with you some observations and recommendations.
I had lunch with Lori last week. I took an hour and a half of her time, so I'm baiting her on some of this stuff. Lori, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been absolutely a joy. I appreciate everybody, and I know some of you came to our topical meetings, and you have a great community. You really do. And for the people that said to me, I just feel like we're not in a good place. We should all be striving always to be better, but you have so many amenities and gosh, I mean, it's just a matter of telling your story and also building that vision of what you want your community to be. But man, I work in so many communities that don't have what you have. And so I just urge you not to take that for granted. And don't, I mean, Jill's doing a great job. Workforce Center's doing great. City's doing great. I mean, is everything perfect? No, it's not, but it's not ever going to be completely perfect all the time. What I wanted to do is just open your mind to things that you could do and to look at things in a different way and just to have a different perspective about, what other people have done that works and doesn't work. That's the best thing that I think I could bring to you all is to encourage you to repurpose and think things differently and use your imagination. And I have a ton of tools I will share. I mean, we're friends for life now. So when I come across something that will be helpful, I will get it to you for sure. But you are in good shape, whether you don't think it or not. Just figure out those action plans that you can, because that never stops. That is a never ending thing. But you will start seeing little wins and feel really good about it. And everything that happens in downtown, more than any other thing that we've talked about, is contagious. It's contagious. So if one thing happens, it's going to happen next door and then the next door. And also in talking with building owners, whether they're your neighbors or they're the building next to you and you have a conversation with them, in that conversation, they're going to feel like it's personal and you don't mean for it to be personal. It's just hard when you're talking with somebody about their own private property is to not make it personal. And the best way that you can remove that barrier of them thinking, oh, you're just somebody's trying to steal my building or it's worth more than you say, or, whatever that barrier might be, the best way to counteract that is in a soft way, remind them or tell them, educate them that we are doing overall revitalization in downtown and your business, your building just happens to be a really important part of that. And we want you to be a part of that. And your building is an important part of our history. So let's talk about ways that you could be involved in that and begin the conversation that way. That way they become a part of the solution and it doesn't feel so personal, like you're just trying to get my building. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Isaac Basil Lancelin. I represent the Sawyer family.
Hi, Isaac.
How you doing? Great presentation. It was phenomenal. You are very
It's
sharp.
a 6-hour presentation that I crammed down into an hour. And
I just have a question because there is a lot of revitalization going on in rural communities throughout the South and through the Midwest. What are some of your strategies that you can share with a community like Smithville where it can focus more on driving into tourism to support those businesses when we lack certain things as housing and those things? So thank you.
okay, so the question is, what can we do to drive more people in for tourism while you're working on the other thing, or they're not coming from? Okay,
Businesses are being developed. The most important thing is to drive tourism into those businesses. So what are some of your strategies
well,
for the local business owners to drive tourism besides social media marketing?
okay, yeah, I get it. So the first thing I would say is, unless your business is completely dependent upon tourism, your best source of customers is going to be local to start with. And so I would begin by building the best local customer base that you can so that you can maintain your business while you begin to market to the tourist. The tourist is going to be the harder market to get because that takes outside marketing, external marketing to get that outside person in. Internal marketing is so much easier. So I say this in economic development as well. Don't ignore your your existing businesses to go after the new businesses. It's not an either or. I would try to build at least a core group of customers from the local base so that you can have a reason to open your doors every day, because the tourists are just going to be seasonal or on a certain day or only on the weekends. And I will share some marketing tips online.
Well, tourism could mean someone, if me and Jenny,
Mhm,
hey, Jenny, let's go out tonight.
mhm.
Instead of us going to downtown Bastrop, you know, what?
How can you
some-
go to downtown
Yeah, because
Smithville
tourism is
instead?
not necessarily foreigners. It could be people from surrounding communities, Taylor, Elgin.
Well, they
Bastrop,
don't know what they
LaGrange,
don't know.
Right, so what are
So
some
it
of
is
your
up to
strategies to
it.
suggest to local businesses, aside from social media marketing, to drive in that traffic?
Well, you could, I don't want to take a lot of time on this because I know everybody's waiting, but you could begin to take advantage of the travel blogs and begin to try to get editorial in some of the regional magazines or the things that the people in the region would read. The social media piece is free, which is I would take advantage of the free piece of it, because everything else is, there's going to be some cost attached to that. But it could be also that you could build a relationship with some of partners in those places, in Bastrop and Elgin and some of the other places, the hotels, the chambers, and maybe do some trades, I don't know what kind of business that you have, but is to just how to bring people in. What you're going outside, so you're wondering, how do we get them back? How do we get them to reciprocate? Well, I can tell you the first thing is they just don't know what they don't know. So anytime you're able to tell that story and then use testimonies of people that have already been here, somehow I think that word of mouth is going to be more important in your direct region, in your immediate region. Beyond that, it's going to take some more paid marketing, but that should be part of your budget anyway. You know, you can't just depend on somebody. It's like working a trade show. You just can't depend on somebody just to walk by and be interested. You have to do that outreach ahead of time. And we've talked about this even when I was doing research on Smithville before I came for the first time. And I'm going to share it in my report next month, the perceptions report of what I found and what I read. And there wasn't a lot about businesses. There was a lot about history and a lot about the film industry. And, you know, I found plenty of that. And I was excited about that. I did not find very much, though, at all about the business base and the businesses that are in Smithville. But those are all easy fixes, y'all. They are all of that is fixable. Yeah. Now, I'm so glad that all of you are here, and I'm going to put some more marketing information on the website. Okay. I know. Sorry, I was late. Sorry, I ran long. I'm kind of chatty.
Thank you all for
All right.
coming and
Thank you.
thank
And
you,
see you
Lori.
next month.
I'll see you next month. Adjourn.